All right, guys. So today, what we're going to talk about it is 2.4 configure and verify layer 2/3 ether channels. Technically, there should be an S at the end of this, but you guys get the picture. So when it comes to ether channels, guys, you have four options. You have your LACP, you have your PAGP, you have your static, and you have your IP address. The only difference is the IP address is a layer 3, while the rest of them would be a layer 2. And what exactly is the ether channel? You guys can read this yourself here. I went ahead and I copied and pasted that out of Google, but I like to go ahead and use my own words. In my own words, I would just think higher bandwidth redundancy. Okay, higher bandwidth redundancy. That's what I think about when I go ahead and I think about ether channels. Okay, let's go ahead and let's go to the next slide really quick. So LACP, for your CCNA, this is actually what they have in parentheses. This is the one that they want you to focus on. There's a couple reasons why you want to focus on this one. LACP stands for Link Aggregation Control Protocol. It is an open standard and it's the most common. Why is it the most common? Because it's an open standard, which means that it's not Cisco proprietary as the what would be the PAGP. Okay, this is the one that's Cisco proprietary. So if they ever ask that on the quiz, hey, which ether channel is Cisco proprietary, you would know that it's PAGP. What we're going to focus on today, though, is LACP. We got the alphabet soup going on. I promise you the configurations for this are really simple. Okay, they're really simple configurations. Let's actually go and get straight to it. So we are on our Cisco packet tracer. We're going to go ahead and bring up a switch. So we got our 2960. We have our 2960. Okay. And what we're going to go ahead and do, ether channels. So as you guys can see here, when we connect two switches straight out of the box with one link, this is a single point of failure. A single point of failure. So that means that if for whatever reason somebody unplugs this link, if the link goes bad, so on and so forth, we have lost our connection. Okay. So if someone comes around and decides, hey, we're going to cut this for whatever reason, or after some what they call wear and tear of the wires, it's no longer working or what have you, you have a single point of failure. So this is the benefit of an ether channel. You would go ahead and have multiple links connected between your two switches. Okay. The maximum you can use, I believe it is 8. Okay. But let's go ahead and let's wait for this to come up. There's going to be a certain idea that you've already probably heard about, and it's called spanning tree. Okay, spanning tree. And what basically spanning tree does, it goes ahead and prevents layer 2 loops and broadcast storms. So you guys are going to see this right here, and I can tell you just by looking at this switch here is going to be the root switch. This switch here is going to be the non-root switch. Let's go ahead and test that. So what, and I want to make sure we get these commands so we can compare and contrast after. So we're going to go to show spanning tree, and look at this. It's telling you, hey, the root ID, your root switch. Okay. And I know this is a little different. I know we're on the topic of ether channels, but it is important and we're already here. So let's just get through this and discuss it really quick. It's going to go ahead and say, hey, this is your root ID. It's telling you MAC address 00A F39A 3D37E. And look, that same MAC address, that Burge ID, this is the information for that switch here. Okay. And when we go to this switch and we type in the same command, okay, show spanning tree, okay, you're going to see here that that same MAC address, let me see if I can go ahead. Bear with me, guys. Let's pull this up here. Perfect. Let's do a little side by side comparison. So I got my switch 2, I got my switch 3. So you guys can see the root ID. The root ID is always going to go ahead and be the same when you do this command, show spanning tree. It's telling you the priority that you can go ahead and change. That's the manual way. There's a command to manually change the priority ID, so you can pick whichever switch you want to be the root. But then you have your address, okay, the actual MAC address of the root ID. So this is the address for the root ID, and as you can see, it's the same here. The bridge ID is with the respective switch. So this is the information with regards to the respective switch. This is for switch 2, and it's telling you, hey, this is the MAC address for switch 2, which is not the same for your root switch. The MAC address for your bridge ID on switch 3 is the same as the MAC address for your root ID on switch 3. Henceforth, switch 3 is your root, what would be your root switch. So now let's go ahead. We're going to go to config T. Okay, and what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to configure these switches. So we're going to go to LACP. That's the protocol we're going to use. And in order for us to do that, like I mentioned before, it's a very, very simple command. We go to interface range, fast Ethernet 0/1 through 2. We have 2 of those links up there. Mind you, you can get 8, okay? But for this example, we're just going to go ahead and do 2. We're going to go to channel group, okay? We're going to go to channel group 1. We're going to go to mode, and in here, I'm going to ask the question mark. These are your commands, okay? Apples to apples, oranges to oranges. If you're using LACP, okay, let's go back to our switches here. Let's give me a quick second here. If we have this switch here and we have this switch here, let me go back here. Okay, if apples to apples, okay, guys, oranges to oranges. So if we're using LACP on this switch, we're going to use LACP on this switch. Keep the protocols the same. If we decide to use PAGP on this switch, we're going to use PAGP on this switch. If we decide to use static on this switch, stick to static on the switch and this switch. If we use IP address, if we decide to do layer 3, okay, apples to apples, oranges to oranges. So in this case, we're doing the example for LACP. We go to channel group 1 mode, okay, and it gives you, if you click the question mark here, it's going to tell you, hey, for LACP, okay, active. So we're going to click active. Now, we go ahead and click enter, okay, and voila. Okay, so you see that there's just some switches going on here. And keep this in mind, active, in order for this ether channel to work, this can be active and this can be active and you're good. This can be active and this can be passive and you're good. Okay, if it's passive and passive, you're no good. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I think for best practices, and I think a lot of people would agree, if you're clicking active on one side, you more than likely want to click active on the other side. So let's go ahead and do the same command here. We go to config T. Okay, config T. We go to interface range fast Ethernet 0/1 to 2. We're going to go ahead and go here. We're going to go to channel, okay, channel group 1 mode active for our LACP, okay. And as you guys can see, these switches are, hey, what's going on right now? The configurations are going ahead and they're taking place, okay. So let's go ahead and exit. I don't want to exit completely because I want to show you guys the spanning tree. And this is a highlight point of ether channels. You're getting physical links and you're creating a logical link. Okay? And I can prove that to you. Okay? I can prove that to you. Let me go here. Let's go to switch 2. Okay. Switch 2. Okay. Switch 2 is actually the one we want to highlight because remember that was the one that was not the root switch. I'm gonna type in show spanning tree. Okay, and I want you to go ahead and compare this. When we first ran show spanning tree, where is it? I don't think it's gonna be on here. Let me see here. Should have taken a screenshot of it. I don't think it's gonna be on here, guys. Let me go ahead. Oh, here it is. Show spanning tree, and then we click show spanning tree. Perfect. Okay, we found it. Got it. When we first ran show spanning tree, those two interfaces, each one was considered its own physical interface. So it's saying, hey, fast Ethernet 0/1, fast Ethernet 0/2. One of them was a root port. Okay. So it was going towards the root bridge, which switch 3 was the root bridge. And the second one was blocking. Okay. Second one was blocking. Now, after we go ahead and we make our configuration for what would be LACP, okay, you guys can see that the interface, okay, I'm going to click show run here. Show run. The interface, this one right here, interface port channel 1. Okay, interface port channel 1. This is now the logical interface, which represents the physical interface of fast Ethernet 0/1 and fast Ethernet 0/2. Okay, it's telling you right here. Okay, and now that these links, okay, they're logically connected to each other now, and now that is basically forwarding to the root switch. Okay, so I want to make sure you guys highlight that point. So once again, physical. Okay, we take that physical, we turn it into the logical. That logical, that interface now is considered interface port channel 1. Okay, now let's go to switch 3. And let's do the same thing here. Let's go to exit. Exit. I want to do show spanning tree. Okay. And you guys can see the similar thing. Okay. When I initially did the show spanning tree, you had those two physical interfaces. Okay. And they were forwarding as they were designated ports. Okay. And they were forwarding as you would expect from a root switch. And now, okay, we go ahead and we have that as one interface. And once again, that interface is this right here, what would be interface port channel 1. Okay, guys. So like I mentioned before, very simple commands when it comes to LACP. It is one out of the four. It is one out of the four options that you have. Okay. And let's see here. Here it is. Like I said, you have a couple options. Active, channel is good. Active, passive, channel is good. Okay, passive, no good. If you do active and desirable, that's two different protocols. Keep it apples to apples, oranges to oranges. So hopefully that makes sense, guys. And like I said, LACP is one that they want to focus on when it comes to the CCNA. Remember, now you have your redundancy and you have higher bandwidth between the switches. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to ask. Make sure you guys subscribe and we'll go from there. Okay. With that being said, guys, have a wonderful day. See you guys on the next one.